This podcast is sponsored by the UK's #1 matched betting site. OddsMonkey shows you exactly how to turn free bets into real money. Win even if your bet loses. Give it a try at oddsmonkey.com for just £1 when you sign up to premium using the offer code BERGCAMP.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Gooner Ramble podcast. I'm your host Giles, and joining me on tonight's show are regulars Dave. How you doing, mate? You okay?
All good, all good.
Good man. We've also got Was back from going north of the wall. How are you, mate? You alright?
Yeah, it was a bit painful, but I'm still here and I'm still kicking, ready for Anfield.
Good man. And we had a last minute dropout. Akil couldn't face doing a pod after going up to Middle Earth and getting his head kicked in. So we've roped in Phil Costa at the last minute. Phil, thanks for joining us. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Good man, good man. All right, so we might as well start from the beginning. Briefly, Dave, asking you your thoughts about the game at Stoke. What in particular peed you off?
Okay. I'm sure this has been covered by a lot of people already, but we can dwell on the team selection. It was odd. It does seem fairly obvious that Wenger's trying to keep Bellerin and Ox happy to the detriment of the team, which is entirely bizarre and beneath him. I can't understand why Mertesacker's seemingly fit and not being played, but then I say that in one breath, and then I thought the whole love-in after the FA Cup final between Wenger and Mertesacker was fairly false, given that he'd been fit since January and hadn't been selected once, so maybe I'm not so surprised. But given the situation, I certainly thought Purr should have played, if not Holding, and I don't know what Holding did so badly wrong. A couple of rusty errors in the first game, but to be taken out of the squad entirely was bizarre. Playing fullbacks out of position, the whole thing was crazy. But I don't think it was. You can say it was those players playing that position that cost us exactly, but it just had an effect on the whole team, I think, and just a general uncertainty when we didn't have the ball and when they were breaking against us. Just players not quite sure what they're supposed to be doing. I guess that would be my overriding observation, and just huffing and puffing up front with very little inspiration, and obviously poor finishing. But was there, so he'll have a clearer picture than I am sure.
We'll get to Was in a moment's breath. First of all, Phil, guest of the pod tonight. Give us your thoughts. What peeved you off? What positives did you find, if there are any?
Look, I was there as well. I don't think we played that badly, all in all. Yes, we were a bit rusty. The balance of the team was off, as Dave just referred to there, with the fullbacks at centre back and Bellerin on the left. It's just it took a whole dimension away from our side there. But honestly, I thought Ramsey played quite well in the middle. Ozil the same. I don't think half of the stick that he got after full time was warranted. I mean, he's always the easy target, we know, and he's not perfect. He's never perfect. But
are you talking about Martin Keown's comments after the game? Yeah,
Keown, Gerrard. I think we had a few issues that day, and I think Ozil was not one of them personally. I don't know what you guys think about that, but we made chances, especially in that sort of the first half an hour. We got in over the top a few times. I think Welbeck had a chance that he put straight at Butland. Ramsey had one as well at the back post, which Butland did well to save again. We should have had a penalty. I don't know how the ref hasn't given that one on Bellerin when Juve just came sliding in. We were on the other half of the ground and we could still see it. So, on another day it could have gone our way. Unfortunately, it didn't, and obviously it's disappointing. But what can you do? I think we just have to dust ourselves down and get ready for Sunday. Really.
Come on. Give it to me.
It was very, very well summarised by Phil, to be fair. I mean, he hit the nail on the head, really. We didn't play terribly, but, I mean, it all stems from lack of preparation. Yet again, Arsene Wenger selecting players in awkward positions, not just one or two. He's sort of we've gone from inverted wingers to inverted fullbacks. And for me, the biggest killer, I mean, the second half especially, the amount of time, I mean, I don't know where Phil was sat. I was just to the right-hand side of the goal, right by the segregation. And I was watching that left wing. And Mesut Ozil, by the way, Keown's criticism I find absolutely baffling for an ex-pro to watch that second half and not appreciate how good Mesut Ozil was. And a lot of people are giving him stick. He absolutely run the show. He was the only player constantly on the ball. That second half, he was bossing it. But what I kept noticing time and time again, and we saw it at one occasion where he slid Bellerin in, it's not natural for Bellerin to make that run. It is left-footed there. That's Kolasinac coming in on that ball where Bellerin side foots it to the keeper. He's on his left foot. He's cutting it back. He's drilling it across hard. There must have been, no word of a lie, 15 to 20 attacks where Ozil's got the ball and he's looking up and Bellerin's he's just not going because it's just not natural to him. And that is where Kolasinac would have been in time and time again, hitting the byline. The youth was there for the taking on that right-hand side. He was really poor. He was really uncomfortable. And we give him an easy ride. And Arsene Wenger, what really wound me up is when he made the substitution, he didn't change that situation with Bellerin. He left him on the left, took Kolasinac off, it absolutely baffled me. And he did make some strange decisions in that game, especially going to somewhere as tough as Stoke. He really made it difficult for us. And yeah, we was unlucky with decisions. We created a lot of chances. We weren't clinical enough. Welbeck missed a few. Was unlucky with the Lacazette decision. But to put ourselves in that scenario, I think Granit Xhaka probably had his worst game in an Arsenal shirt, if I'm brutally honest. 50-50 in the first half. He was doing some great things and terrible things. And then second half, he really struggled. He was lumbering into tackles. It was Xhaka of sort of in spells last season where we saw him overcommitting and it cost the goal. But individual errors cost us the goal. And then we weren't clinical enough. We had a bit of bad luck, but I think it all stems for me from the tactical decision of Arsene, how he cannot notice sooner that Kolasinac really had to go out on that left. And especially after they scored the goal, we were completely on top, in complete control. You could have easily put Bellerin centre back. It really wouldn't have made a difference. And he just didn't put the natural left footer out there. And it was absolutely, I was fuming watching it.
Going back to Dave's point about not using Mertesacker, who was available. What do you make of that? Do you think it was a false loving? Do you think Wenger really is loath to select him and in that instance he'd rather, as everyone said, accommodate shove Ox in the team to the detriment of the rest of the team and not put someone like Mertesacker in there, who was a natural choice as a central centre back. I mean, Monreal's a great left centre back. He's a great wing back, but he's not the pivot in a free. What do you think to that?
It is bizarre. I think that's the only word for it. It's bizarre. I mean, Callum Chambers is still not in the squad. Apparently, I read today he might have a slight injury, but that's another centre back. And Per, like you said, with that cup final performance, the situation he was put in, the way he performed, and again, he's just not selecting him, especially somewhere like Stoke where you could sort of think he'd be perfect for it, but it's just so unnatural. It looks really, really frustrating. Nacho Monreal cannot play as the centre half of the three. I'm telling you that now. He always struggles, even with the goal. He had to make a decision whether to. I personally thought that Nacho, when he saw Xhaka committed, I think when that ball was played in, I thought he had to progress and he had to try and stop that pass, but he backed off. Mustafi backed off, and Monreal, he then tried to step up when the run was made round him, when really, if he had just carried on running with a runner, he would have intercepted that. So it's just, a lot of players were doing unnatural things, and Per is a natural leader. He would have been far, far, far better in the middle of the park. Push Monreal to that left-hand side, like you said. Mustafi on the right, or Rob Holding. I can't understand the thought process. With the inverted wingers thing, I can sort of understand it, but this, especially when you are reliant on your wing backs to provide the width and it's a real attacking outlet, it's just, nothing adds up to me, mate. It was one of the strangest Arsene Wenger lineups and in-game decisions to take off Kolasinac and still carry on with what he was doing. I can't explain it. I can't.
And to add insult to injury, He then comes out in the post-match interview, insults his own players that he selected who are playing out of position.
Yeah, his own centre-backs.
We've got a problem with our own central defence. I mean, and then, unbelievable. I mean, if I was one of those players, how angry would you be with your manager for hanging you out to dry in the first place, and then
when it's your fault,
accentuated that by criticising them? Unbelievable.
Dave, I mean, I don't know if you read today in the article today. He's come out in the article today, Wenger, and he said that in today's game you don't have so many natural leaders, but the three big personalities, the three go-to men, the natural leaders in our squad are Cech, Koscielny, and Mertesacker. So you'd think, Mertesacker, once available, goes in the
sound
team.
Bites.
Yeah.
Sound bites.
Yeah. So
just judge him on his actions. Per Mertesacker was fit from January. He played one game from January when he had absolutely no one else. You threw him into the cup final. He performed beyond admirably, and Wenger suddenly, it was so wonderful. I always knew he could do it. And Per, embarrassingly, sheepishly almost in the interview after the cup final, was sort of trying to detract from the comments. He looked embarrassed, I felt. I mean, he might have been saying, Wenger, the manager has faith in me, but he didn't. His body language wasn't saying that. And he played a few minutes in pre-season, but I never thought he was going to be playing week in, week out this season. But to not play him, in that situation on Saturday, there is no explanation. There's certainly no explanation that's justifiable at all. The guy's 31; he's not 35. And I've never been his biggest fan, but he had to play on Saturday.
Yeah.
If he wasn't going to play Holding, he had to play Mertesacker. End of.
Phil, over to you. I want to talk about Danny Welbeck. Now, you do a lot of good scouting reports, and people know you for your blogs and whatnot. And I want to bring up the issue, my issue here with Danny Welbeck. I love him. I think he's a hard-working forward. He stretches defence. We all know what his attributes are. We don't need to go over it. My problem is he is so profligate in front of goal. I know he's a wide forward and he's there to do whatever else, but his stock in trade has to be scoring goals. He had, in my eyes, 3 big chances on Saturday. Against Leicester City, he had a couple of big chances. He scored from one, which was set up by Kolasinac. And I mean, if he couldn't score that goal, he should retire from playing football. I get what he's good at. I get that he's a physical specimen, but really and truly, he's not consistent enough to score us the goals we need. We don't, when Alexis isn't in the team, we struggle. We don't play Giroud from the start for one. Alexis is not in the team. We don't have that many players that score, that shoot. I mean, Lacazette is the sort of player that only shoots when it's optimal, when he feels it's optimal. Otherwise, he'll pass it on to somebody else. So where were the goals coming from? Why is it we persist with Danny Welbeck in that position if his end product is so poor?
Well, I think you summed up Danny Welbeck there perfectly. I mean, look, I think for the moment he's in the side because, as you said, there's no Alexis. Iwobi can sometimes blow hot and cold, even though I'm a big fan of what he can offer. And with Lacazette, we saw, or as we've become accustomed to seeing now, he does like to drop deep. He likes to drop into that little pocket of space. And the whole point of playing Welbeck is that he has the power and the drive and the speed to run beyond, in behind and into those gaps that Lacazette, draws the centre back out of. And I think it worked. It's just, that's always been my issue with Welbeck. He's, he offers so much. He offers pace on the wing. He works hard. He's a physical presence. He can hold the ball. But it's just, when he gets in front of goal, it's like a switch in his head. I mean, we've all heard about natural finishes. Michael Owen comes to mind, Chicharito. These are the guys that are born to score goals. They don't offer much, but what they do offer is, his own product. Welbeck's the opposite. He hasn't got that natural instinct. He hasn't got that composure. His legs are always, he doesn't seem to sort them out in time. He never looks comfortable when he's finishing the ball. I mean, I can't remember many goals where he hasn't been falling over. He always looks like he's tripping over or it's just, I mean, he does it sometimes. Like he scored that dink at Southampton last year in the FA Cup. that hat-trick against Galatasaray was excellent.
He's got at Man United.
The winner at Old Trafford, my favourite.
Yeah.
You know, I think for his age now, he needs to find that edge. I mean, we're not expecting 30 goals a season, but you know, he needs to be up in double digits. And I know injuries have knocked him back. You know, obviously he's taking about 2 years off his career. But yeah, I don't know if he's past the stage now where he can pick up that composure in front of goal, because in theory it should work. I mean, we were getting in behind, but yeah, I thought, you know, the first chance he had on the volley that he hit straight at Butland, fair enough. That was a difficult chance, but he got in once or twice, and I just think his awareness and movement.
Three big chances, you know. Phil.
His awareness and movement in the box is not there. He's not up to scratch. So, but you know, when Alexis comes back, he's out of the side. There's no question.
Dave, over to you. We've had a few conversations about it now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a massive Danny Welbeck fan, but for most of the reasons outside of scoring goals, which Phil summarised. I mean, I thought in the FA Cup final he was our best player. You know, everything was because of him. Every free kick we won, every pulling Luis all over the show. He just offers so much. Everything bar, as Phil said, the natural finishing. What I find quite odd though is, as I recall, when he first came to Arsenal before his first injury, he was the top scorer in European qualifying, wasn't he, for England?
Yep.
He was scoring virtually every time he pulled on an England shirt.
I think even when he joined us, he went away on England duty and he scored as well. Yeah.
So he scored. Even man of the match against Estonia, he scored 2. I think he's got it in him. I think he's just lost it through the lack of football.
Do you think he's lost it though? Do you think he's lost it, or he's not really had it?
Whether he'll get a run. Well, as I'm saying, we saw it. Every time he played for England, he scored for a period of time, and they were well, maybe, but he was never playing centre forward at Man United. So but I'm not making excuses for him, and Phil's right. As soon as Alexis is fit, he plays. But equally, I can't think of an alternative player to play in that position. I wouldn't pick Iwobi over him at the moment. But what I probably would have done, and I think we all probably hinted on the pod last week, was I think a lot of us thought he might have played Giroud with Lacazette in that position. Which would have been a viable alternative at Stoke, I thought. I was quite surprised that wasn't the selection, actually. But again, I take Phil's point that Lacazette does like to come deep rather than be the deep one. But I think that would have worked at Stoke. I think Giroud with Lacazette and Ozil would have worked quite well.
Was over to you. I mean, what's your thoughts on? I know you love Welbeck as well for what he does offer the team, but.
Yeah,
we are the lowest. We've got the lowest expected goals. I don't know what it is. Something chance. Look, Ozil creates 10 chances a game. We don't convert a lot of them. We don't even get a lot of them on target. I mean, and we're playing someone like Welbeck as a winger.
It's entirely frustrating because it's very similar in the way to Ox, because he offers so much, and you can see and you love him for what he does do, and it's just and what hasn't helped him is injuries. It's almost as if you could combine Daniel Sturridge and Danny Welbeck, you'd have the ultimate centre forward, because they offer, like, Sturridge is lazy, his movements, he's not as powerful, he's not as explosive, but he can bloody finish. Welbeck's complete opposite, but he can't finish, and it's just infuriating. But I love him for what he does do, but to get into the level where we want to be, I mean, realistically, he's a squad player, and unfortunately that is the case for Danny Welbeck. And I like him. I want to see him succeed. We all do. But, like, for instance, the header, the chance, Ozil's put an unbelievable delivery in. It's a header, and he's come off his shoulder. And he's completely unopposed. He's made a great run, to be fair to him. He got in there, but he's got to do better there. And that's the situations where that pass there, if he heads that in and there, everyone's going, Mesut Ozil, unbelievable. What a ball. But instead, Mesut Ozil is getting slated left, right and centre. And like you said, chances created don't really mean a lot until, unfortunately, you don't really applaud it unless he's put in the back of the net. So, Welch I like him for what he does do. He's aggressive. We all know exactly what he does do, and he's certainly got a place in the squad. If he can chip in with double figures, and I think a lot of these scenarios could be coming from the bench, because when Alexis is back, if he is back, and we're playing Alexis and Ozil in behind, and we've got the option of Lacazette, and we've got Theo there and Welbeck. We need players like Theo and Welbeck to chip in double figures goals. So he's certainly got a part to play in this squad, but we just want to see him start turning these sort of 4 or 5 chances into sort of 2 goals, and then it'll be better for him. But he did get a goal, so hopefully he can. It was just an off day for him.
You know, for me, I mean, I do love him. I know I've been really critical of him in the last couple of weeks, and it's because, you know, when you look at him, you think he can be so much more, or I thought he could be so much more. I mean, he takes on his man. I remember, was it Crystal Palace the season before last? We were struggling. He come off the bench. He replaced Iwobi on the left, and he completely changed the game through his direct running, getting down the byline, giving them a problem, giving them issues. But, you know, I think to myself, it's great when you see the dribbling stats. He's had 4 dribbles a game, and I think to myself, well, what about after that? Let's take it in context. You're taking on your man, you've had 3 take-ons, you've got 3 take-ons, you've got 4 dribbles, completed passes, key passes, assists. Where's that coming from? I don't see any of that. And people are telling me about per 90. I don't even know what per 90 means, Phil. But, you know, all I know is, you know, when you get in a position, he's not really got a consistent end product, whether it's shooting, whether it's passing, whether it's, you know, crossing or whatever. I don't see much end product, and I struggle to see him, even if he has an injury-free for the season, I struggle to see him getting double digits in any of those categories. And that's really poor. He's 26, 27. Potential, we're not talking about potential no more. I'm wondering, will we ever see him actually deliver? You know,
and then we look at our coaching staff of Wenger centre back, Boras centre back, Banfield, God knows if he even played football, Steve Bold centre back, and Lehmann a goalkeeper, and we wonder why our strikers who aren't natural aren't getting any coaching and finishing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Fair point.
But then our defence is just, they don't seem to be coaching.
Yeah, the defence. Exactly. You know what I mean? So I want to move on to the Ox. I'll come to Was in a minute. I'm going to start with you, Dave. You know, do you understand why people have an issue with the Ox?
Of course. But in the same way, I understand people have an issue with Danny Welbeck.
And what is it you see in the Ox that makes you think that, right? I mean, because we discussed this last week, you know, about his end product and whatnot.
Right now in our squad, the problem isn't whether he's not the Ox. The problem is he's got to make a decision between the Ox and Bellerin, because he's not going to play the Ox in the centre of the park. He's just not. So he has to make a decision between Ox and Bellerin. And if the decision's Bellerin, then he sells Ox. It's that simple. I'll be very disappointed to see him go. But he's under this manager, this team, he's never going to flourish where he wants to play. So we might just draw a line under it. But from a personal point of view, I am insanely in love with Oxlade-Chamberlain. He's one of the few players that when he gets the ball, I actually am on the edge of my seat, because I'd never know what's going to happen. Now, that may not be a good thing, but that's what excites me when I'm on a football match. It's like when David Rocastle got the ball and he started running, and you thought, he could literally run through the whole team here. We have nobody, even Alexis can't do that. The only player in our whole squad who can do that is Oxlade-Chamberlain. Whether we can afford that luxury, arguably not. But that's why I love him, because I just never know what's going to happen. And I love watching players that excite me and can do the unexpected. We have him, we don't use him probably properly. He probably makes the wrong decisions quite often, but when he makes the right decisions, sometimes it's amazing. You know, I think of that goal at Old Trafford where he ran through half the team. I think of the cross, you know, in the semi-final. You know, when it's right, it's as good as it gets. That's why I love him. But he's never going to produce that consistently unless he's playing consistently in the same position. So I think we just have to draw a line under it and take the money. But I tell you, if he does start playing somewhere else,
well, this is my
thing.
They're
going to be gutted.
This is my thing. I mean, I'm going to come up with was about the money and Phil as well. My thing is this, I think it's under this coaching regime that we're not getting the most out of him. And I'm sure if he goes to somewhere like Chelsea with Antonio Conte, we'll probably see much better, more consistent end product. More, you know,
he's a better player than Victor Moses.
Absolutely.
That's why he wants it.
Absolutely, 100% better player than Victor Moses. And he'd only improve there. And you've got to, you know, I asked myself, are we getting the most out of him with our coaching? I don't know what goes on in the training field, but, you know, would you take the 35 for him? And at this stage, 8 days to go, at this stage, would you take 35 for him from Chelsea?
It is so difficult, mate, to be honest with you. I mean,
what's your head telling you?
My heart is telling me no, I want him to stay. my head is telling me, yes, we've got Hector Bellerin for the next 6 years, and I genuinely believe his ceiling is a lot higher. I think he's better defensively, but I do, look, I get misconstrued. I do like Oxlade-Chamberlain, but what he frustrates the bloody life out of me, and I'll tell you something, at the weekend, I nearly threw myself down the stairs in the ground at the end of the game when he passed that ball to Mustafi, who was stood quite clearly 5 yards offside. We're in the 94th minute, 10 seconds left. Giroud's in the box. Welbeck's made a great run. And Ox keeps his head down and just plays a 10-yard ball to Mustafi. I literally, honestly, I nearly threw myself down the stairs. I couldn't believe it.
I was thinking of you when I was watching it.
But he does some brilliant things though, Dave, like that chance from Welbeck in the first half, unbelievable through ball from him. And another thing I've noticed a lot about Ox, it's been this season especially, even at left wing back, his ball recoveries are very high. He's winning a lot of ball back, but his take-on's very high, wins a lot of ball back, but again, he's completed crosses, his shots on target,
yeah, but that
things.
Free kick, Ozil left him to take that free kick. They obviously.
Oh, I know,
yeah, beautiful.
It was a great, unbelievable run from Ramsey, great ball from Ox, and it was very unlucky. But Dave, I think another thing that, to be fair, judging him, we need 3 centre backs at centre back, and they need to be settled, and it will help Ox. And the one thing I would say, just another thing on Ox quickly about that game at the weekend, I don't know if Phil noticed it in the ground, Mustafi, from minute 1, Shotcrown Mustafi was in his ear. He was constantly helping him, constantly coaching him, constantly telling him where to be positionally. He was really was helping him, and Ox was, he had a decent game, but again, his end product was a little bit lacking, but he had occasions where he did find his man. I don't want to sell him. I really don't want to sell him. I'll do all I can to try and convince Ox to stay. But Arsene Wenger needs to start utilising our players correctly. And from Ox's point of view, I can understand why he hasn't signed a contract, but we need to make a decision.
Okay. So at this stage, we take the 35. How are we going to stick with just Hector? Or would you expect us to go out and find somebody as a backup, right back or whatever? I mean,
I've got a feeling Arsene Wenger, you know what he's done in previous years. He'll happily use a centre back out there. He's got Callum Chambers still at the club. We've done it before, and I wouldn't personally do it. He's got Ainsley Maitland-Niles. He's got Reece Nelson. I think that if he took the 35 million, he'd probably invest it elsewhere on the pitch, central midfielder, another attacking player. But I think that Arsene likes to play a risky game, and he's done it before with Bellerin, hasn't he? And especially with Jenkinson out and Debussy, he's going to be leaving the club. He's not even relevant anymore. So I think he probably would rely on someone like Maitland-Niles or Chambers, or probably maybe even Reece Nelson, seeing his performances, and he's promoted him to the first team squad. He was playing again at, he can play right wing back, or obviously his natural position's higher up the park, but I think he trusts him to do it. But yeah, I don't want Ox to go, but £35 million is a lot of money for what he's achieved so far in his career. But it's that frightening, that prospect of what he could achieve, and the fact that him doing it at Chelsea or another club in the Premier League would break our hearts.
Not only that, but it's because of Conte, isn't it? And you know that Conte will
get the best out of his man.
He improves players. That's the thing, isn't it? Phil, over to you. Is there a chance that if Wenger says he's not going, do you think there's a chance that he could convince him to stay and sign a new deal?
Look, I think Oxlade-Chamberlain loves it at Arsenal. I think he loves it in London. You know, he's been there for 6 years now, going on 7, which is, it's a long time. He's had his education here. You know, he's grown up here. He spent a third of his life at Arsenal Football Club. But I saw a report in the Times midweek that said he's told Wenger that he won't renew. And I think, obviously I don't know if that's true or not, but if he has, then I don't think we have any position to keep him at the club anymore. I think if there's still wiggle room, if there's still leeway, if it's purely, an extra 10,000, maybe it'll take a few months, but we can get it over the line, then fair enough, keep him at the club for sure, because I think at right wing back especially, he's got, the way he just bursts past players, he's a physical specimen. Like, I know he used to play rugby a lot during his younger years, and, I heard a funny story that when he first came to the club, we had to tell him to bulk down, and he was 17 at the time, which is crazy.
He's a man-child, wasn't he? Yeah.
You know, he's made that role his own. I know we've got Bella in there, who I like a lot as well, but he offers us something different. He offers us that, you know, physical edge that we need sometimes. But I think Woz summed it up nicely. The end product is still an issue. His crossing can be brilliant, and sometimes it can be, you know, rose-ed, just nowhere near the box or nowhere near his target. And it's just, sometimes he just gets his head down and that's it, you know. But I would personally keep him. If there's wiggle room, definitely keep him. But if he's unequivocally said no, his agent's being a corrosive presence behind the scene, then I think we have to begrudgingly take the 35 mil.
Dave, you told me nearly a year ago. Oh, Dave's not there. I was just about to ask him a question, actually. And he's gone. We'll get him back. Okay. Let's talk about Aaron Ramsey now. You know, there's a lot been said about his performance, not just on Saturday, but his balance in the team and what he gives the team. You know, for me, he's a great midfielder, but I would like to see him further up the field. I think giving him a role further up the field and letting him, dictate the play from there, rather than being in the two with Xhaka, who I think needs somebody who's a bit more, he's just a bit more defensively aware around him. He would benefit. I don't know what you guys think. I know, I'm not saying that we should drop him out of the team. I just think that he's better off further up the field, or with the insurance or the security of two people behind him, pretty much like it is with Wales. When we saw Euro 2016, he had a brilliant campaign. He had Joe Allen and Joe Ledley behind him, sort of shoring things up and allowing him to get up and down. And he was brilliant for me, you know, and I thought that was his role. You've seen with Man United, Matic being the defensive midfielder as a released Pogba to do his thing. And I think in pretty much the same way we can get the same out of Ramsey in that position. I mean, Phil, what's your thoughts on Ramsey? Do you think? I mean, I've had a question here from, I think his name is at 4MOE, and he says Ramsey's balancing the team. Do you think it's all the storm in the teacup? People are over exaggerating or overreacting, or do you think there is actually an issue there that needs addressing in this transfer window?
I mean, firstly, I think Ramsey's always been a lightning rod at Arsenal. You know, people have always gone on both extremes. There's always oh my God, he's absolutely useless. And, you know, he could do a great off the ball run and he's like the second coming of Frank Lampard. You know, I think I'm a big fan of Ramsey, but for football teams to perform well, there needs to be balance. And I thought he played pretty well against Stoke, actually. I thought first half he was quite conservative. He did his job, but you saw him making those runs. But for Ramsey to perform well, there needs to be balance around him. It's the same with Xhaka. He needs balance. And with Bellerin on the left, with Kolasinac and Monreal in the middle, there was no balance. And, you know, I mean, Stoke rarely threatened, but when they did, they looked dangerous. And I think their goal was just a prime example of him and Xhaka in a partnership, because it was Xhaka gave the ball away, and straight away his mind snapped into, I have to get this back as soon as possible. He went diving in, and that was it. One pass around them. Ramsey's already 15 yards further forward. We know he can cover ground, but there's no way you can cover ground that quickly. And from that moment, as soon as Xhaka dived in, we were in trouble. And that small moment of hesitation from Monreal has killed us as well. But, you know, I think as long as he's fit, Wenger will try and keep him in the side. And I agree with what you said about maybe playing him further forward. And I'm surprised he hasn't tried it even towards the end of last season or this season or even in pre-season, because I think, like you said, for Wales, he's so good and slightly further forward, not with complete creative license on him like Ozil would be, for example, but, you know, he's decent on the ball. He's got the creativity to try stuff. He's got that sort of Alexis attitude of risk equals reward. You know, he'll try an ambitious flick or a shot from range. You know, I think we lack that sometimes. And I think if you put him further forward, you give him that license to try those things. Whereas if you have him centrally next to someone like Xhaka, who can't cover the ground, who's maybe dependent on mobility in midfield. He tries one run that doesn't come off, and then there's 20 yards around Xhaka that's ready to be attacked. And I think it's an issue for the moment while we have, left backs playing at centre half and right wing backs on the left. I think maybe we need to be a bit more conservative until we find a bit more balance in the side.
Dave, welcome back. We're talking about.
Don't know what happened there. Sorry about
that. We're talking about Ramsey and the balance in the team. What are your thoughts? I mean, look, he's got a great engine. We look at his stats. He regularly is up there in terms of distance ran, tackles, interceptions. He gets back. He does his bit defensively. But I've asked, is there an argument to say we could push him further up and have somebody else who's a bit more, who can help Xhaka more, in terms of that?
I'm sure there's a strong argument. I'm sure there is a strong argument for that, but who out of Alexis and Ozil you're not going to play then, or are you going to change the formation?
I would consider changing. I've never been one to be. I've always worried that Wenger he stumbles upon a formation, a solution, and he sticks with it until it's broken. He's not really flexible. And the only time he flexes is when we're chasing the game.
That's true.
We don't play horses for courses. And I think
certainly Ramsey's at his most effective when he's in the opposition half. I mean, I don't trust him, as much doing a defensive shift. I'd much rather see him, approaching the penalty area with regularity. That's why I actually quite liked him, that a couple of years ago when he played on the right in the sort of, because he was breaking into the box quickly. He was able to do that. I mean, I know a lot of people who love Ramsey didn't want to see him playing on the right. They kept saying it was the right wing. I never saw it like that. I mean, never bothered Freddie Ljungberg being out there, and he was a central player when he arrived. I always thought he was very effective there once he got used to it. But that would be dependent on us going back to sort of 4-2-3-1. That would be an option for him, certainly, if we did that. But it is a case of, at the moment, they are our best two central midfield players. And in this formation, they are, I don't think they're the best option if we were going to go into market, but right now, they're the best option of the players we've got.
Was over to you. I know, you've often said that, he's up there in tackles, interceptions, his defensive work is prodigious. Do you think, though, there is an argument to see him released a bit further up? If we go to market and get a midfielder, would you be happy to see him released? And maybe we change the formation sometimes. Maybe it's not all about 3-4-2-1. I mean, does it really suit us? I don't know. The underlying number suggests we still have issues.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts?
I do hear what people are saying with regards to that, but I just think this formation, especially, Phil said it perfectly with regards to the fullbacks on the wrong wings and then left backs at centre back. Realistically, you've got 3 centre backs protecting Granit Xhaka. I mean, you shouldn't need 5 defensive-minded players in there. And Aaron Ramsey, he's not all gung-ho. I mean, if he plays as high as people were talking about, he made 73 passes at the weekend, and 72 of them were forward passes. 72% of them were forward passes. So he can't be playing forward passes to no one, completing them. He is not as high all the time as people suggest. So a lot of the time what happens is often he's making the run and beyond, and Ozil dropped in, and the situation develops. And then if we lose the ball, all of a sudden it looks horrendous, but it's not as bad as it makes out. And that goal especially, it was an individual error by Granit Xhaka, simple as that. It was a poor pass. He had a 3-yard pass to Mesut Ozil, who had occupied Aaron Ramsey's position. Simple as that. Ramsey had made the run for the long diagonal. Welbeck was deeper than Ramsey as well when you watch it back. So I think things are being overlooked into there. Yes, Aaron Ramsey is very, very effective in and around the box. And even the other day, for when he made that brilliant run from deep, headed it back for the handball decision that we didn't get, with Danny Welbeck in proximity. Ramsey is always going to divide opinion, and I can understand, especially when we are playing with an unfamiliar back line, that people would want someone to drop in there. But even still, I just think that he's every single move he makes is polarized, and I think it's frustrating because even when El Neni played the other week against Leicester, we conceded 4 goals, and not a word is said about shoring up the CM and losing the midfield battle. And realistically, against Stoke, we dominated that game. We controlled it. We run things. Ozil, Ramsey, and Xhaka, all 3 of them owed over 100 touches, made 75 plus passes each. Like we dominated that game, but
to be fair, Giles didn't ask about Ramsey as a result of that game.
No, I know he didn't, mate. I know what he's saying, and I'm talking about where using him best. I do understand moving him forward, but like you said yourself, Dave, who do you drop out, Ozil or Alexis? And personally, for me, neither of them. And can you change the formation to fit them 3 in? Possibly. You could even look
go
at
4-3-3 or
go 4-3-3,
diamond or something, you know.
Yeah,
well, we had those 3 playing together behind the striker 2 years ago.
Yeah,
we won the cup.
Yeah, if you had, like he's saying, you could maybe put Alexis on the right, Lacazette and Ozil on the left, and play a midfield. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Xhaka, Wilshere, Ramsey as a 3, and if we don't go into the market, I've got absolutely no issue with that at all. But yeah, I mean, Ramsey will continue to divide opinion. He will get goals this season. There's no 2 ways about it. He will hit double figures, and if he can stay fit, he will have a huge part to play in our season, even if we do go out and sign a central midfielder, which I do hope we do as well, because Ramsey is very flexible. He can play in a number of positions. He's got a lot to offer the squad, but I think people do. Sorry, mate, go on.
I was just going to say my issue is no matter who we play with Xhaka in the midfield, I feel that that's an opportunity for the opposition to get us because we're not secure.
And there's no pace between them. When they're chasing, there's no chasing.
Whether it's Xhaka, El Neni, whether it's Xhaka and Ramsey, whether it's Xhaka and Coquelin. Coquelin's, whoever it is, they set traps for us, and it's quite easy for us to be picked off. I don't like seeing Ozil dropping back in the midfield simply because if we lose possession, if somebody loses possession, we are open. And I don't think, look, Xhaka has obvious issues learning the game in terms of where to be positionally when we're not on the ball, when we're being broken on. He overcommits, especially if he's the one losing the ball. He overcommits, and we're exposed. And then you've got 3 centre halves, and it's 3 versus 3 or 3 versus 4, not in our favour. I don't like to see it. Gives me palpitations. I'd like to see us go to market and bring somebody in. And I've been saying it, and I'm sick to the back teeth of saying it. I want to see somebody brought in a top class midfielder that can do that job, to do the freeway job, to release and liberate Xhaka, Ozil, Ramsey, to do the things that they are bloody good at doing. And I pray to God, we've got 8 days to go. I pray that somebody
I'll pray for your Twitter handle, mate, that you get a CM. Otherwise it's going to be a long season.
All right, we've spoken enough about that. Just before we move on to the Liverpool game, we heard a little, I don't know, this rumour about Mustafi. I don't believe it for a second. We just bought him, for crying out loud. Apparently he's settled in London. Whenever I've seen a video of him, a social media video of him with the Arsenal, he looks like he's loving it. I can't believe that after a season he's pining to go back to Italy just because he's had a not so great second half to the season. Dave, you're our man on the beat.
I'm a bit late to the party on this one. I heard people talking about it before I saw it. It was John Cross' article, wasn't it? No, a complete fabrication as far as I'm concerned. I would be stunned. My understanding is, rightly or wrongly, after the weekend, that the priorities have changed again as far as the transfer dealings are concerned, and he does want to bring in another central defender. So if that's the case, he's hardly gonna lose one of his better ones. So he'd have to bring in 2 then. So no, I think it's a nothing story. I like John Cross, not many people do, but I think this one's just a nothing story. I really do. Can't see it at all. Can't see it.
Phil?
Yeah, no, I mean we're not going to let him go now. I mean, there's no denying that he struggled towards the end of last season, but I think the whole team did as a whole, not just Mustafi. And I think, if we're going to discard people after one season in English football, then we wouldn't have a team, I think he does have these weird moments where he just dives in, where he doesn't need to, and it drives me absolutely mad. Like, it wasn't even 5 minutes into the game the other day, and he was already diving 2-footed straight in the feet. Hesse, you know, he doesn't need to. He's got decent pace. He's good in the air, but it's just sometimes his decision making just baffles me. But, you know, we've seen it with Koscielny. We've seen it, even Gabriel. I mean, he wasn't everyone's favourite, but he sort of learned over time how to hone that aggression or that aggressive style. So, look, Mustafi's still young. What is he, 25? I think he's experienced. He's got 4 leagues behind him. He's got, you know, a ton of Germany caps. So, yeah, look, I think he'll stay at the club, but maybe another dodgy season and we'll see what happens next year. But I completely agree with Dave, and I hope that we are looking at a centre back, because I think it's clear he doesn't trust Callum Chambers for what reason. I don't know why. And obviously the whole Mertesacker thing that you guys covered as well is just bizarre. So yeah, I hope we are in the market for one, but yeah, Mustafi's not going anywhere.
Who would you like to see? What position do you think is of you know, absolute paramount importance?
Spine. The spine, mate. We've been saying it for the last God knows how many years. I'm banging my head against the wall. Centre back, centre mid. Definitely them 2 positions, and no 2 ways about it. For years we've seen Arteta come and go, Flamini come and go. It's just been bollocks, to be honest with you. It's been rubbish. It's been silly. We've been waiting for years and years. We've been relying on Santi, who's been injury prone of late. You've got, who, by the way, wasn't even a central midfielder the majority of his career, and he had 18 months there. Aaron Ramsey struggled after his leg break. I mean, why have we not addressed these issues a long time ago? Centre back, my God, how long have we needed a centre back for? He's flirted with all these players, 16 million on Chambers, Gabriel. Why not just go out and buy a top quality centre back and be done with it? Like, I really like Mustafi. I think he's great, and I know we spent £35 million on him, and I personally do think he's worth that, and I do think he's only going to get better. He's had his first season in the Premier League. I just think he needs a calming influence either alongside him, or do what Chelsea have done with David Luiz and take him out of the area to be putting himself in danger, and drop him deeper and let him control. And because he's a great talker, he's very switched on. But yeah, we need the centre back 110%. We've got rid of Gabriel. We've got a lot of issues. Purr's old. Koscielny's getting on. We're going to be in trouble. We need a central midfielder. We've got so many players running down contracts. I need to be happy, mate. I've got to stop talking about it.
All right. Okay. Look, Liverpool just won their game 4-2, so we're facing them on Sunday. I always like to ask the guest, first of all, Phil, what's your starting lineup for that game?
I think I'm going to be controversial here and go for a 4-3-3. I would maybe play Cech in goal, Bellerin at right back. I would play Mustafi and Koscielny as the 2 centre backs. I would play Kolasinac at left back, and then in midfield I would play Xhaka, Ramsey, Oxlade-Chamberlain, and then as the sort of 3 up front, I would go Ozil on the right, Sanchez on the left, and Lacazette up front, which is crazy because we haven't played that in about 6 months, but that's how I think we're going to match Liverpool, because I think they would kill the space in behind if we play 3 at the back.
Dave?
Exactly the same as Clive's team when he was tweeting that we should match Liverpool with a 4-3-3. That's exactly the same team as he picked. Our erstwhile pod colleague. I wouldn't disagree, but I think we have to accept that we'd pick a team as we think Wenger's going to pick a team with the formation he's going to pick, and I think he will stick with the 3 at the back. So much as I'd like to see that team that Phil's just selected, I'm not sure that we will, but I do think Koscielny will come back into the fold. I do think Mustafi will play, and I think Monreal will play, and I think he'll finally make the right decision. He'll play Kolasinac and Bellerin as the wing backs. I think he'll leave Xhaka and Ramsey in there, and then it'll be Alexis and Ozil behind Lacazette. So there's only one player different in the 11, but I think he'll stick with the 3 at the back. I won't be the least bit perturbed if he doesn't, but I think he will.
And over to you, Woz.
Yeah, very similar to be fair, but I personally, even though the pace of Liverpool, I'd be starting Purr in the heart of that defence. I'd have Mustafi on his right, Koscielny on his left. Kolasinac, Bellerin as the wing backs, Xhaka, Ramsey, Ozil, Sanchez, and Lacazette.
And I tell you why I'd go for Hector Bellerin at right back or right wing back or whichever position over Oxlade-Chamberlain, simply because defensively he's better, and they've got a player called Andrew Robertson his left foot is fire.
Yeah.
You know, he's getting a lot of crosses in for them. They're using him as a really big attacking threat, especially with him and Mane. I think him and Mane are really looking apart together. They're building a relationship there. We can't have Ox at right wing back, not at all. He'll get roasted over there. In terms of who they play, I think they're obviously shorn of Lallana and Coutinho at the moment, so chances are it will be Firmino who's their chief attacking creative presence. So I imagine he'll be playing sort of like the false 10 role, and they'll probably have Mane and Salah up front. And then the midfield for them is a question, but I'd say it'll probably be Henderson, Chan, who will be getting between the lines, and Wijnaldum has a good record at home. Their back four speaks for itself. I think the way where we can get in behind amongst them is possibly starting with Giroud. Actually, I'd start Giroud and not play the game that we played last season where we were trying to knock it long and feed off of him. I'd actually use him as a wall and have Alexis, if he's fit, I don't think he will be fit, or Lacazette and Ozil behind him and running in beyond him, you know, because I think, you know, the midfield battle there is going to be key. And we can't actually stop Mane, no matter what formation we play. I don't think we can stop Mane, but we can stop the supply line to him. So who we play in the centre of our midfield will probably be key. And people have suggested bringing in Coquelin. I don't know what you guys think. I know none of you have picked Coquelin, but can you see an argument for bringing in Coquelin, Phil, or no?
Instead of who?
I would say, I imagine they're probably saying instead of, I don't know. I think they were saying, I think it was Ramsey. Yeah, I think a couple of people said.
Sorry, Phil. You asked Phil. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I haven't got any issues with Coquelin. I think Wenger likes him because what he does in the side is simple. He wins the ball. He gives it to someone else who can do more with it. And I think sometimes away from home you need that. But no, I think, you know, he's been injured for a few weeks as well. I mean, I know he's been on the bench, but probably lacks a bit of sharpness, and it wouldn't surprise me because he's sort of Wenger's security blanket. You know, when things aren't going our way, he can rely on Coquelin to maybe shore things up in the midfield. But I don't think we're quite at that stage yet after one defeat. You know, I think he will try and offer something from midfield, and Ramsey offers that something, you know, that little burst in behind, or, you know, that, you know, a bit of danger, a bit of risk. So yeah, I think he'll be on the bench, but I don't think he'll start Coquelin. No.
Do you think it's a matter of us taking the game to them or sitting in and sort of picking them off?
Yeah, they're so dangerously quick on the counter attack, Liverpool, and Klopp's sides notoriously have been that. So whether they're going to allow us to have a lot of ball, and if they do, that's the issue with Coquelin for me. If we are in possession, we need to be good in possession, because if we're not good in possession, we're going to lose the ball and they're going to go and they're going to be gone. So you're going to really have to be very good on the ball. It's such a difficult team to select.
I don't think they'll be giving us the ball. I think they're a high press, they're a Gegen pressing team. They like to press up and have a lot of. They like to take, you know, turnover.
Yeah, nick the ball high, and
dominate,
and then spring. So we all know Coquelin lacks the ability under the press to move the ball really. And I personally, I don't like seeing Coquelin advance to Xhaka running around like a headless chicken. I never have. I never will. I think that the more and more I watch him do that, the more and more he reminds me of Flamini. But what I do like about Francis Coquelin is when he is sat in deep with a specific role to intercept. He seeks danger really well. He reads the game really well. He can make tackles. I just don't like it when he's chasing the game. And I think similar to what Granit Xhaka done against Stoke, when they both in a scenario where if they do chase the game, they get bypassed and they go missing very, very easily. So I could see why he would start Coquelin, but Arsene Wenger, we know once he loses a game, he really, really does not like to lose the next game. And it's for me, I'd personally be starting Aaron Ramsey, and I just think that if we've got three centre-backs, actual centre-backs, and if we're talking about the players coming back that we've got in, they are actual centre-backs, and we will be a lot more solid with our full-backs in. It will make the world of difference, and I just think we'll look a more solid side, and Xhaka will be able to sit in that sort of quarterback role, and he won't be tumbling forward, making mistakes, and we won't be hopefully making silly errors. So look, Liverpool are going to punish us if we make errors, and we need to be on our game. And normally with the Arsenal, you can see within inside 5 minutes if we're going to be on it. So hopefully we get out there, we start zipping the ball about, and we can create some chances. Lacazette is lively. We got maybe Alexis back in. The only thing I would say is if Alexis isn't back in, it might be an idea to push Aaron Ramsey up and make a choice out of El Neni and Coquelin, even though for me, this is where we really do need that extra central midfielder like you was sort of alluding to earlier. If Alexis or Ozil aren't available, the option is there to push Ramsey forward, but it's going to be a humdinger of a game. I think, like we all think, there's going to be goals. There's absolutely no way that both teams aren't going to score in the game, so it just depends who can get the most goals, I think.
Yeah. Indeed. Dave, if Alexis doesn't make it back, are you tempted to stick with Welbeck in terms of pushing them back and stretching them? And this, I mean, from what I've seen in the Hoffenheim game, even though they were quite soundly beaten, they were throwing a lot of diags, especially in the first game, and trying to they scored from a diag, getting in behind Trent I was going to say Trent Alexander, I think that's his name. You know, so is someone like, if Alexis doesn't make it, is someone like Welbeck good to have in that situation, or would you go?
Absolutely. Alexis will play. I think if he's 90% fit, he'll play. But yes, if he's not, then yes, he'll stick with Welbeck for that very reason. And because they're not great defensively, and I'm not a huge admirer of Emre Can, to be honest. I think he's a weakness. I think we can get about him. I mean, I like Jordan Henderson, but I think that's not a fantastic central midfield partnership. They're not dissimilar to us. They've got fantastic attacking threat. They're not that. They haven't settled on a perfect midfield partnership, and their central defensive partnership is weak. In fact, I think their best central defender is the one who's sat on the sidelines and you know,
Sako.
I wouldn't even be upset if we signed him. You know,
Mamadou.
He's absolutely fantastic player, and just because of things he said and things he's done, he seems to have been blackballed by Klopp. When he went to Palace last season, he changed the whole fortunes around single-handedly. I think he's a fantastic player. He's much better than the two that are in their team anyway. So
Phil, any reason to start Giroud if Alexis doesn't make it?
I can see there's an argument for it, but I think the game is going to be played so frantically, as it usually is at Anfield. I mean, the first 10 minutes are usually breathless. I don't think I could see it at Stoke. It wouldn't have surprised me if Giroud started at Stoke, but I don't think Anfield is the game for Giroud to start. Come off the bench, fine. But I think we're going to need short combinations, 1-2s, balls over the top. And I don't think we're going to be feeding it to him and looking to run off him, because they'll just swarm him. They'll have one defender right up his arse, probably Lovren, you know, pressing him straight away, and then Henderson and Chan and Wijnaldum will be there picking up the scraps, you know. And I think we just need a bit more speed up front, so Lacazette can be there, he can be the focal point, but quickly ping it off somewhere. And I think that will suit us, a lot more in the type of game that it will be on Sunday.
Okie dokie. All right, give us your prediction then, Phil.
Oh, I'm going to go 2-2.
Dave?
Yeah, I was going to say exactly the same, actually. I think 2-2 is very, 2-2 or 3-3, something crazy like that. It's going to be a very exciting game. And I have to say, I literally can't wait to see what Alexis and Lacazette look like together interchanging. It could be mouthwateringly good, and I hope it is.
And was.
I think we're going to go 2-0 down, and we're going to win 4-2. And I'm going to go down the bookies and put a few quid on that, and then if it comes in, well, I'll take you all the way on holiday.
All right. That's been a very interesting conversation. I hope you all enjoyed it. That's been a Gooner Ramble podcast. I want to thank my regular amigos, Dave and Woz, for coming on.
Thank you, Giles.
Yeah, top man. Thanks for having us, mate.
And also Phil for coming in the last minute and saving the day.
No worries. Thanks. It was a pleasure. Pleasure coming.
Cheers,
to
Phil.
And who's going up there? Are you due to going up there? Phil was? I know Woz is going up there.
No, I'm not going up this weekend.
Yeah, I don't know why I keep doing it. I can't stand it, but I love it. I'm addicted. Oh God. Let's hope we don't just crumble like we have done in recent years at Anfield, because I tell you now, they come out, start of the game, singing "You'll Never Walk Alone," then you can hear a pin drop, and as soon as they get that first goal, that's it. We just fall to bits, and they go at us with pace. And it's not happening, though. It's not happening. We'll be all right.
Coolio. All right then. All right. So that's been a good round for us. Catch us on all the platforms. Subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, all the Android platforms, podcast applications, and whatnot. Do subscribe. Do like. Do comment. Do rate. It helps us get out to more people. Hopefully you've enjoyed the podcast. I've been your host, Giles. It's been a good ramble. Up your Arsenal.
This podcast is sponsored by the UK's #1 matched betting site. OddsMonkey shows you exactly how to turn free bets into real money. Win even if your bet loses. Give it a try at oddsmonkey.com for just £1 when you sign up to premium using the offer code BERGCAMP.